Hi guys, on this installment of PJ Cooks Sexy Food, we're going to be making a maple candied bacon marshmallow. That's right, a marshmallow that has candied bacon and maple in it. It's going to be out of this world. I can't wait to show you how to do it. Let's get started. So the ingredients for our maple bacon marshmallows, we're going to need 6 to 7 strips of bacon that we're going to candy with a 1/4 cup of brown sugar and 1/8 teaspoon of cinnamon. We're going to need 4½ teaspoons of gelatin, as well as 1/2 cup of cold water. We're also going to need 2/3 cup of sugar, 1/4 cup of light corn syrup, 1/4 cup of cold water, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 cup of good maple syrup, 1/8 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/2 cup of cornstarch, and 3/4 cup of confectioner's sugar. So to get started, what we're going to do is we're going to take our gelatin and we're going to add that to the cold water that we have here, that 1/2 cup of cold water, and we're going to stir that in together, and we're going to let that what's called bloom for several minutes. What's going to happen is that gelatin is going to hydrate, it's going to plump up, and it's going to be very thick and stiff, and you'll see that in a few minutes. But we're going to set that off to the side. Next thing we want to do is we want to combine our brown sugar and our cinnamon. That's what we're going to use to candy our bacon. We're just going to stir that together. Just like that. We're going to set that off to the side. Okay, next step is using a sifter. Like this. I have an old-fashioned hand sifter. You could use a hand sieve if you want, and you can just tap it around. But in the sifter, I'm going to combine the cornstarch and the confectioner's sugar together. And I'm just going to sift them together so that this way they come out nice and light and fluffy combined. We're going to use this again later. Okay, so I went ahead and I've been sifting this together. But this way they're all nice and combined, because what you don't want is you don't want any of those big lumps that you can see that have been stuck in the bottom of our sifter. Now we can go ahead and set that off to the side. Now before we continue with combining our ingredients, I need to show some of these amazing maple syrups that we have here. These syrups were provided to us by the Albano family. I want to give a special shout out and thank you to John and Lisa, Ava and Avery for providing me with these maple syrups that I'm going to use today to make our marshmallows. Today I'm going to use the bourbon barrel aged maple syrup, which is going to impart that bourbon flavor that I mentioned into our marshmallows. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I have those 7 strips of bacon that I mentioned earlier on a baking rack. And I put that baking rack over a pan, and that pan is covered with aluminum foil as well as a piece of parchment paper, because the amount of sugar that's going to come off this and how sticky this is, it's going to stick to your pan, and you don't want to ruin a good pan. But all I'm doing is I'm just sprinkling this on, the cinnamon and the sugar. I'm just patting it into the bacon, because that's what's going to create that candy crackle glaze on the top. That's going to make this the candied bacon that's going to go into our marshmallows. If you don't cook this and get it good and crispy and crackly on the outside, what's going to happen is your marshmallows are going to get soggy your bacon is going to get soggy in your marshmallows. So you want to give it a good coating right now. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to cover this side, and we're going to go ahead then flip it over. We're going to coat the next side, and we're going to put that bacon into that 350-degree oven for about 30 minutes or so, just until it's all candied, crispy, and good to go. So the next thing we want to do is we want to prepare our pan. Now when you prepare your pan, you want to follow instructions to this, especially when it comes to your pans if you're going to be using non-stick. For example, this particular pan here says not to use cooking spray when you're going to be baking with it, because it will leave a residue on the nonstick coating, and then that will make the nonstick coating not work as well. But since this pan is only going to be used to put our marshmallows in, and then we're going to unmold them, I can go ahead and actually use a bit of cooking spray in the pan just to ensure that our marshmallows don't stick. Okay, and there we go. Now I'm going to set this off to the side, and we're going to start on the syrup for our marshmallows. Now to make our syrup, we're going to take a nice sized saucepan. We're going to combine our water, the corn syrup. Now you can't cut corners. You have to use corn syrup in this recipe. If you don't use corn syrup, it's not going to come out right. Your marshmallows will not hold. They'll get dry. They'll get crystally. That's not going to be good and it's not going to be enjoyable. We're going to add in the sugar, the 2/3 of a cup, and our maple syrup. We're going to stir this to combine well. And then we're going to place this over a medium heat, and we want to bring this up to 240 degrees. We're going to want to be watching this because the amount of sugar in here is going to want to bubble up, and we just want to ensure that it doesn't boil over. If it does, we need to make sure we keep our temperature low. We have our handy dandy thermometer in the pot right there to register our temperature and to regulate it. And we're going to go medium heat until it comes up to 240 degrees. So it's been that few minutes. Our bacon is still cooking. Our syrup is still heating up. But what I wanted to show you is I wanted to show you what our gelatin has become. You can see how it has solidified, and it's almost like a crystalline type. It almost looks like wet sugar. This is exactly how it's supposed to be. What we're going to do now is we're going to pop this in the microwave for a few seconds, about 30 or so, just until it fully melts. So after 30 seconds in the microwave, you can see it's fully liquefied. And now we're just going to leave this off to the side, keeping it warm, while we wait for our syrup and our bacon to finish cooking. Okay, while our syrup is coming up to temperature, our bacon is almost done. I'm going to start now by putting our gelatin into the bowl of our stand mixer. Get every bit out of the measuring cup. I'm going to put the lid down. And we're going to let this run on low for a couple of minutes while our syrup comes up to full temperature of 240 degrees. Okay, so after the first couple of minutes, you can see that the gelatin is just starting to get a little foamy. That's perfect. Now we're going to slowly drizzle in the syrup that we have here into our mixer, and we're going to keep that on a medium speed, on a medium low while we're adding it. And you're going to add it slowly just so it starts to incorporate. And we can scrape out at the bottom of the pan as well. Get every bit of that syrup into our gelatin. Now we're going to let this go on a medium-low to medium speed for about 5 minutes. Okay, so it's been 5 minutes, and you can see how much lighter and fluffier and foamy this is. It's very, very thick. What we're going to do now is we're going to let this run for 3 minutes now on high speed. With our mixer going on high speed, now I take our bacon out. You can see how beautifully crispy and golden this is, and it's candied. Now I'm going to chop this up so we can add it to the marshmallows in a couple of minutes. Okay, so I went ahead and I crisped up and chopped up all that bacon. I'm shutting this off, and you can see how fluffy and light this is now. It's almost like a very thick meringue. It's very poofy. What we're going to do now is at this point, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to add in the cinnamon. I'm going to crank this up all the way to high for 1 more minute. Okay, so it's been a minute. And I'm going to add in all the bacon bits. Get that going for 30 seconds. Okay, so it's been 30 seconds with the bacon bits added. I am now going to bring over our prepared pan. I take our beautiful marshmallow mixture out. Make sure we get as much as possible off the whisk as we can. That little bit on the end, that's going to be mine for later. Now, working quickly because this is going to be very sticky, we're going to just put this right into our prepared pan, and we're going to flatten this out. Just smooth it out to the edges. Don't leave any in the bowl. Just want to smooth this out as smooth as possible. Get it as even as you can. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab my offset spatula. That offset spatula, I'm just going to give a light spritz of cooking spray, so I can scrape everything off and nothing will really stick to it so much. And we're just going to work this all the way out to the corners. Get a nice flat top on this. Scrape off anything off the other whisk or the other spatula. You want to work with this as quickly as possible because you can already see it's starting to set up. Now with it all smoothed out, what we're going to do is we're going to take some of that cornstarch or potato starch and confectioner's sugar that we mixed up earlier. Take a good amount of that into a sieve, and like I did earlier, I used an actual sifter. You could use a hand sieve like this, put it in and just tap it across the top. You want to put a good heavy coating on the top of this. Now comes the hardest part of this recipe. We need to wait 6 hours before we could cut these into marshmallows. Okay, so it's been 6 hours. Our marshmallow has been settling. I'm just going to gently go in and around the edge with the paring knife just to ensure that nothing is sticking. Now let's turn our marshmallows out. Just like that. Taking the sieve, put some more of our coating. Let's coat up the other side nice and well. Okay, grabbing a knife, I'm using a large slicing knife. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to cut our marshmallows. Instead of trying to turn all the marshmallow, simply turn the cutting board. Let's get more of that coating. Let's just gently now toss a mound of marshmallowy goodness. Store them in an airtight container. These will keep for about a week. So there we go. We have our maple, bourbon, bacon marshmallows. So delicious, so yummy. I can't wait to toast these. Make a gourmet s'more. It's going to be wonderful. Hope you enjoyed this recipe. I hope you'd like to try this at home. Thank you for tuning in to PJ Cooks Sexy Food. We'll see you next time.